Personally, I think anyone who says that they do not gossip and that they hate gossip is lying. I'm sorry. I think it is what it is. It's human nature. Call me crazy, but I don't think gossiping inherently makes you a bad person. I don't think it's something that is inherently evil. I think there's a way to gossip that is evil. I think there's a way to gossip that makes you a bad person. But I think at its core, gossip is just a part of how we socialize. I think where it gets tricky is where do we draw the line with conversation and venting and gossip in the workplace so that it doesn't come back to bite us. Who are the people we can gossip with? Who are the people we shouldn't? Today in our What Would Emily Do episode, we are going to be talking all about gossip, all about talking, one of my favorite subjects in the actual world. I'm in my cozies, I'm in my sweater. It suddenly has started feeling like fall in Toronto. And I'm not personally prepared. I also have a hair mask sitting in my hair, so I do look a little crazy, but I think this is the perfect attire for us to sit down, chit chat, and get real. But hi, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Straight Shooter Recruiter podcast. My name is Emily Durham. I'm your host and producer of this one-woman show. And since we've been back for our new season just a week and a half ago, we are already in the top 10 careers in business podcasts in Canada. We're on the charts again, and I am so stinking excited. I can't thank you enough for listening and tuning in. I see all of your ratings and reviews. They mean the world to me. So if you're listening and you haven't left the show, like a rating and a review, I can't even tell you how much it means to me. It's how the show grows. And my goal is to keep giving you content that helps you thrive in your 9 to 5 and beyond. So if you haven't done it already, I would just love it. And with that being said, I'm ready to talk about kind of the history of gossip. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you think about talking about other people. Oh my God. Every single week I have a poll over on my Instagram at Emily the Recruiter where I ask y'all some questions of the week and we just get chit-chatting about the topic at hand. And I asked y'all, do you gossip? What are your thoughts on gossip? And 49% of you said that it's natural to gossip, and it is what it is, you're going to do it. 28% of you said they would never gossip, and 22% said they think it's bad, but they're going to do it anyways. And that's tea. I personally fall into the camp of gossip is natural. I think it's natural for us to talk about our shared experiences with the people in our lives, even forgetting the context of like friendships and dating, whatever. At work, imagine you went into work and you couldn't vent with your team or your coworker about a really difficult project. You would be harboring all of that frustration and anxiety yourself, and that can get really heavy. And sometimes just hearing that somebody has had a similar experience can really make us feel more comfortable, more at ease, and more included. I think gossip also has some really interesting roots that I do want to talk about in just a second. But my personal stance is gossip at its core I don't think is evil. I think it's our intentions, and I also think it is the settings that we choose to gossip in that can really get our asses in trouble. But before we dive into what you should and shouldn't do from an office gossip perspective, let's talk a little bit about the history of gossip, because I do think it's pretty fascinating. So gossiping can actually be traced back to the 12th century, and it's derived from the word godsib, G-O-D-S-I-B-B, meaning godparent. Let's keep reading. I don't know why that is, but basically medieval churches during this time were framing gossip as a morally neutral practice. So it wasn't something that was inherently bad. And the word was even seen being used in some church sermons and not really to like diminish people who were engaging in gossip. Basically, for the time period, gossip became a means of news and information. For a lot of people, that was one of the core ways they would figure out what's happening in the town, what's happening with certain people, what events are going on. Gossip truly became a news source, and it wasn't inherently bad or evil. It was a means of spreading information. I think it's really interesting. I actually listened to a podcast as well as watched some TikToks on the history of gossip in female friendships. And there are a lot of arguments to be made for the fact that patriarchy, so the system designed inherently to support men, at times can see female friendship as a threat, because that is a way for women to connect and bond, discuss the things that they don't like, and potentially enact things like change. For example, our right to work, our right to vote. And a lot of those things came way via gossip, via people talking about what they're seeing and talking about what they're hearing and creating action from it. And I think the challenge is that gossip became, in some ways, automatically tied to female friendship and therefore became like a negative kind of relationship between the two. But things like sharing experiences, sharing emotion, especially in times where people didn't want to keep women well informed, was actually really powerful. So the ability to gossip and learn from each other was something that inherently was helpful. But at times, it was seen as a little bit too powerful, and in comes the witch hunt. A lot of people who were seen as gossiping were classified as witches because it was evil and they would have been practicing evil. But in reality, that was a way that women were punished for trying to have access to information. Now, I'm not telling you this to say you need to gossip your heart out because it's for your ancestors, girl. What I am saying is there's a lot of really complicated relationships around how we share information and, the societal impacts of how we share information. Now, today, gossip takes on totally different meaning. One could argue that we gossip every time we log on to TikTok or to Instagram because it is how we consume info and it's how we hear information spread. But when we think about gossip in the workplace, I don't think it is inherently an evil thing. I think a lot of these same notions still reign true, that it's a means of sharing information. It is the power of word and mouth. Gossiping can, in many ways, enact change. Imagine you're gossiping with your coworker about that boss who makes you really uncomfortable. He makes those weird comments. Perhaps they're a little harassy, if you know what I'm saying. And suddenly you realize it's not just you, it's also Susie and Jenny and Bobby. And then all of you now feel comfortable and empowered up to speak. You're like, you know what? No, I'm going to go tell this guy where he can stick it, or I'm taking it to HR. And maybe you wouldn't have done that without the power of gossip. But gossip does come with a little bit of evil. Gossip comes with a little bit of malocchio, as we say in Italian, some bad energy. And I don't want to see you in a position where your career is getting, whoa, I just got a hiccup. I don't want to see you in a position where your career is being impacted by gossip. So let's just set out some guiding principles, and then we're also going to get into your questions. Decide to gossip at work, you need to make sure that you are checking in with these few things. The first thing is, who is the audience? Who are you connecting with? And there's a couple of different things you need to think about. One is, how long have you been at this company? Not because you don't have a right to have opinions when you first start somewhere, but you are not going to be able to differentiate the snakes from the worms if you've only been at a company for 6 months. It's the same as saying, oh, I'm going to marry this person after dating them for 3 months. You don't know them like that. It takes time to see how people really move in different situations. And I think another good rule of thumb is, if you're talking to someone who's always sharing drama and gossip with you, that doesn't mean necessarily that they trust you. It means they're doing that with everyone. So the secrets you share, they're actually going to give to other people as well. You need to be very thoughtful about how you observe the people around you. Really observe how they move, what they share, what they don't. Do they keep things close to their chest? The next thing you need to do is be very thoughtful about the level you are gossiping with. I know this is kind of old school, bureaucratic, but if you're gossiping with people who are several levels above you, they probably are going to perceive you to be a gossip. Even if what you're saying is correct, the next time they're in a performance review or they're looking at putting someone on a project, they might be like, you know what, so-and-so doesn't actually operate with a lot of discretion. I've noticed they share things with me, and even though I agree, I can't handle the risk of somebody who's going to run their mouth about a given project, and that might be the end of that. You don't want to put yourself in that position. I would say the people that are unsafe to gossip with are the people that you don't know well outside of the context of work. Do not gossip about work unless you have an established relationship with somebody that expands outside the context of that office in a meaningful way. I'm not just talking like grabbing a coffee every once in a while. I'm talking you do lunch pretty regularly. Perhaps you go on a walk after work. You know details of this person's life and it has been sustained over time. It's not like a 2-month thing. This is like a year with this coworker, and they have a proven track record of being reliable and honest, and they share with you in small but meaningful ways where you know they're not running their mouth to everybody. Honestly, there is a difference between having a shared experience with someone and talking about challenges working on a project or challenges working with someone versus just picking apart somebody's personality or dogging on someone or, to be honest, bullying someone. Like, that's the stuff where it's like, as a rule of thumb, if you don't have anything nice to say, try not saying anything. Because you're just going to hurt other people, and realistically, you're also going to hurt your career as well. Being perceived as a gossip is not going to make you seem trustworthy, does not make you seem any more credible. If anything, insecure people talk about others. Like, a truly confident person doesn't ever have the desire to go talk crap about somebody else. It doesn't even occur to them. It's not on their vibrational plane. It's not something that's necessary to them because they're so self-assured. Why would they go tear somebody down? That's just ridiculous. It's not needed. However, it is different if you're in a position where you need to vent, share experience, and understand if you're alone. And that's the differentiator. If you are feeling like you're going through some stuff at work and you need somebody's opinion or perspective or to know if you're alone, that's different. That's coming from a place of, help me understand if I'm alone. Here are the facts not my feelings. The fine line, and it's really not even a fine line, but the line you need to understand is it's one thing to seek comfort and validation. It's another to be malicious and nasty and try to assert your cool kid factor by speaking ill of others. And as I say that, I guarantee there are people you work with or have studied with that are coming to mind where it's like they always have something to say about everybody. Everybody is under a microscope. 9 times out of 10, it's because that person is really insecure about themselves. That's usually what it all comes down to. If you're in a position where you're like, I really need to talk to somebody, make sure it's somebody you authentically trust, that you have a sustained long-term relationship with. Make sure you're coming from a place of empathy, even if you are gossiping. Like, don't go getting nasty with anyone. That's not helping anyone. And make sure whatever you're saying behind somebody's back, you would stand on business and say it to their face. Because the last thing you want to do is brand yourself as a shit talker. It is not hard for your gossip to get out. All it takes is that person you confided in accidentally slipping and telling somebody who tells another person, and suddenly all roads lead back to you. My advice is, if you feel like you need to gossip, go FaceTime your best friend in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Someone who you know has no connections to these people. If you are absolutely desperate for that connection, yeah, talk to somebody you trust. But just know every time you open your mouth at work, it can and will be used against you, even by that work friend. And specifically, we're going to get into that right now as I read some of your questions of the week. Dear Emily, how do you know if someone at work is actually your friend or at least shares the same views? I'm asking because I feel my coworker at my last job pretended to be my friend and then went on to my manager to tell them the gossip we had about them. Okay, this is why I share so many cautionary tales about work friendships. I'm doing air quotes right now if you're listening while you're driving or something. Work friendships, for the most part, are not actual friendships. There is a very false sense of security that we feel with people we work with. The reason for that is we spend at a minimum 40 hours a week with these people. We typically just talk about the subjects at hand, being our jobs and our tasks. But because we spend so much time with them, we actually have this feeling like we're closer than we really are. We feel like these are our people. We feel this sense of camaraderie because we spend so much time together. And because we trust them in the context of work, that trust tends to spill over into our real relationships with them. But here's the kicker. That's not real friendship trust. That's work trust. And a lot of us kind of blur the lines between work friend and real life friend. So here's my rule of thumb. A work friend is someone you can bond with over work. Yeah, maybe you talk a little bit about the frustrations of your job. You have lunch. Maybe you hang out outside of the context of work once every couple of months. A real friend is somebody that when you are hanging out outside of work, first of all, it's regular. Second of all, you're so tight, you don't even talk about work half the time. My friends that I've made from work, when I hang out with them, I literally never talk about work with them. We're always talking about other things going on in our lives because they're my friends. When I introduce them to people, I go, oh, this is my friend. This is my friend, not this is my friend from work. That's the difference. So really make sure, ask yourself, would this person be invited to my wedding? Would this person meet my mom? Like, those are the questions you want to ask. And if you're not sure, I promise you, err on the side of caution. You're not going to regret it. Assume that person is your work friend. As a rule of thumb, I like to assume every work friend is a liability until proven otherwise. Don't get it twisted. Some of my best friends on the planet, God willing, if I ever get married one day, some of the people standing in my bridal party and on the groom's side will be people I've met through work. But because I have worked with them for years and hang out with them very regularly outside of work, those are my friends. It's not work we talk. I don't need to gossip with them about work. We're talking about everything. They know every detail of my life and I know theirs. Those are my friends first, my coworkers second. The challenge is when it comes to building relationships with our coworkers, we end up getting stuck in this cycle of feeling too comfortable and then getting burned. My advice is assume every person you speak to at work will throw you under the bus if it benefits them. Because in the off chance that they're not that kind of person, your friendship will progress naturally. But if you're on the fence about whether or not this person may or may not throw you under the bus, and how can I tell who's really a friend? Assume nobody is a friend. And I know that's really pessimistic, but you need to be selfish about your career the same way that person from your last job was selfish about theirs. The thing about rumors, especially if you've ever watched reality TV, is that 9 times out of 10, the gossip that gets spread around the office is total and complete BS. Usually it's not even true, and it's really tempting to fall into gossip. I actually made a TikTok about this so long ago that went so viral, but I was basically saying that it's so easy to bond with people over negativity. You talk shit about someone, it's so easy to like, yeah, I hate that person too, blah, 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 and it makes you feel close to others, but that's not real authentic closeness. That is bonding over disliking someone. It is different. So if you're feeling the need to gossip, check in with yourself and ask if you actually need support or if you just need to get shit off your chest. And if you just need to get stuff off your chest, go call your mother. Go DM me. DM me. Like, I'll talk to you. You don't want to put yourself in a position to hurt others and to hurt your career. And on that note, I asked y'all, what is the craziest gossip you have heard in your workspace? And if you need to feel better about what's going on in your life, I think this is going to be a segment you really enjoy. Fire, read these out because they do spark a little bit of joy. Someone said, so many affairs. So many affairs. Oh! A coworker had an sex tape of a celebrity and used their work email to negotiate the sale to a website. In brackets, yes, they got fired. Okay, my work gossip was like someone deleted an email. Like, pardon? Creep spin instructor got rehired at a gym he was banned from, and he cheated on his prego wife. Someone once spread a rumor about me that I was always too on time and always did my work according to plan. Not sure why that was seen as a bad thing. To be honest, you sound like an icon. I would hire you. There were rumors that the previous people in my role had done corruption and fraud. I learned that after I got the job. I mean, the good news is you are always going to look fantastic in comparison to them. So love that. I'm not going to read these out because I think this episode will get taken down, but let's just say I had quite a few messages of people having rumors of their bosses being intimate with some of their direct reports, and then those people mysteriously getting promoted. No tea, no shade. No tea, no shade. Not my business, not my circus, not my monkeys. I would be lying to you if I said I didn't love grabbing a cocktail with my girlfriends and just talking a little sugar honey iced tea with them. I think it's kind of fun to be like, oh my God, did you see this? Blah, 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 blah. Here's what's happening at work. Here's what's happening with this guy I'm talking to. I think all of that is more than fine. You really need to be extra cautious in the context of work because at the end of the day, you are never going to be perceived as more professional and more confident if you are bringing other people down. And if you're around someone who is a hardcore gossiper, my best piece of advice is to play stupid. When they bring up things with someone and they're like, did you know, blah, 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 be like, no, I didn't. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. Or, oh, do you agree, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Play respectfully stupid to remove yourself from those situations. Pretend you have no idea what's going on. There is so much power in pretending to be just a little bit dumb. Just a little bit dumb, just like the right amount of dumb. You don't want to make yourself the center of drama. It's never going to help you. It really isn't. But you know what is going to help you? This week's episode. I'm so happy that you're here. I love chit-chatting with you. Don't forget, if you have topics, things you want me to cover in our next What Would Emily Do episode, I'm actually going to be posting a Instagram not poll, but like questions thing this coming Wednesday. So as you're watching this, the poll should be live. I would love to hear the topics you want us to cover next week. What is heavy on your heart? What's the stuff you just want to chit chat about? And remember, we do have an Education Forward episode coming up on Sunday as well. Because yes, baby, we're live twice a week. That's where we're at right now. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for letting me just be in my castor oil hair mask and sweats. Because I can be smart and professional and still be in my PJs. It be what it be. Okay, guys, I'll talk to y'all next episode. Love you.